Hi, welcome to Donegal Dad. I'm Mark. Today we're going to be looking at how I lay my flexi track, and if you are new here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So today I'm going to continue laying track for the fiddle yard here. So we're going to put some curved flexi track in and then carry on down the straights. Let's look at some of the tools I use for the track laying. So we've got some track setters here for setting curves and straights into the flexible track. A hammer. I use some of the gauge master pins for pinning down the track on a little magnet here, which makes it handy for moving them around, and also if you drop a pin you can use the magnet to pick it up. This is an old bolt I use for driving the pins into the track, just so I don't hammer the track and perhaps damage the rails. Set of pliers, your fish plates, handy little homemade tool here, a bit of old track that's bent just to help put the fish plates onto the rails. Some of these Pico spacers, which has the 6-foot way, so you have the streamline spacing or the set track spacing on there. Craft knife, a little pin drill for drilling holes in the sleepers for the pins. A Dremel with a cutting disc on it for cutting the rails. Also very important, you have safety glasses when you're using the Dremel type tool. And then a track rubber for cleaning the track afterwards. Before you get started with your track laying, make sure you disconnect the power to the track, because you're going to be working with tools, you're going to leave them down on the track, it's going to cause shorts which could damage your controller or your locos. So all my track here is 00 gauge using code 100 track. Use code 100 track because I have some older locos which have larger flanges on them, so the fine scale track code 75 wouldn't work for me. So before we get started, especially if you're butting onto a piece of track which is set track like this Hornby point here, is I actually pull off the Hornby fish plates, because if you compare that to a Pico plate, you will see the Pico plate is just slightly longer. It's a couple of mils longer. I find it just gives a better fit and better secure joint than the Hornby fish plate. To prepare the flexible track for use, the first thing I do is on the first sleeper off the track is I just slip the knife underneath and just cut off the chairs. This enables me then to just push the fish plates underneath there without cutting any of the sleepers away. And when you put it together up against another piece of track, it just gives a better finish. There's no gaps. If you take a look here, you can see the chairs have been removed underneath the fish plates, and it leaves you with a reasonable gap between the sleepers. So I put fish plates on this end of the track. Now I'm going to use this 21-inch track setter to give it the initial curve. It's not going to be the proper curve I want, but it just, if you just clip it in, run it through a few times, and you can see how it just puts a curve in the flexible track. So that gives me my initial curve. So now I'm going to attach it on to the point. And then using the pliers, just pull the fish plates across. And then we can look at the curve, how we want it to go around. So we can just grab the track and bend it round. So we want to follow up this sort of curve. Now, because I don't have a track setter with the exact curve I want, what I have here are 2 pieces of Hornby 3rd radius set track, and I use this just over the top just to give me a guide so I don't have too sharp a curve. So that reflects a 3rd radius curve. So I have the track in place, the initial curve. So now I'm going to use the pin vise to drill some holes and pin the track in place. And once that's done, I can then pull the rails around so there's no gaps over here and make the transition from the point into the curve smoother. I've drilled a hole in the sleeper here with the pin drill. I then have driven a nail in, as you can see here, with the hammer, just so it's above the rails. And then I use the bolt on top of the nail just to hammer it home. You don't want to put the nail in too far because it will pinch the sleeper and then affect the gauge of the track. Once you're happy with the track in place and you've checked it either using some set track or your track setters, then you'll notice that there's some gaps here where you flex the track and the rail's retracted. So you just get your pliers, grab the rail and pull it round and make sure there's no gaps, and then also centralize the fish plates. And then rub your finger over just to make sure it's level. And then that's the track set in place. So now we just need to trim off the end and then start the track, straight track going down there. So I'm going to use the Dremel type drill now to trim the track and level off the rails. Now remember, safety glasses, and when you're cutting with the Dremel, stand behind the blade, so if it does shatter, it flies off that way, not into your body. So it's going to get a little bit noisy now, and we'll cut the track. So we're going to cut this rail so it's then level with that rail. There we are, there's the rail cut, and then we use the craft knife to trim off the sleepers. Trimmed off the sleepers, I've also trimmed off the rail chairs, so I can take my little tool here and insert the fish plates, which I'll just do now. Just slide it on, and just hold it, take the tool off, and there's the fish plate on. So we have our next bit of track ready. Again, a piece of flexi track. This is going to be a straight section. We've put the fish plates on, trimmed off the chairs, so we'll just offer them up together. Slide them in. There they are. Just rub your finger over the rails. That makes sure they're joined up correctly. And then using the straight track setter, pop that in between the rails. And holding the rail so it doesn't pop out, just run that up and down the track just to make sure it's dead straight. And then if we line this end up with the pin on this bit of track, and then we can just pop a hole in here. Pop in a nail. Grab the hammer. A couple of taps just to get it in. Move the track set out of the way. And then use the bolt just to drive the nail in. And then repeat the process down the track. I use the track setter as my spacing guide for the pins. You can see they're about 8 inches apart. Once the track is pinned down in place, just go over the joints, just making sure the fish plates are centralized. And you're happy with the sleeper alignment. And then what I do is, because this new track gone down, is I just give it a rub over with the track rubber, just to make sure it's all clean. And if I'm testing the track for continuity, I hook up a transformer or supply the track power to it, and then just go over it with a track tester just to test the power. and this will always tell me then if there's any breaks or problems with the fish plates as well. But I will be adding droppers to these at a later date. So you can see on these sidings here, there's quite a big space between them, so I didn't use the standard spacing. But on these sidings here, I use the standard spacing. So this can help you get parallel tracks just by using the Pico spacers as you go down the track to get them all lined up. When I'm doing the scenic level, which will be the level above this storage yard, I will be using cork. This is 2mm cork cut into strips that will go underneath the track. Using this helps give you a nice ballast shoulder when you start doing the scenics on the layout. Using track pins isn't the only way to attach your track to your baseboard. Some people will actually glue it using a glue like Copydex. They'll glue the back of the track and the baseboard, stick it down, put some weights on it, and leave it to dry for 24 hours. One of the ways to create a little bit more space on the layout is to just simply put one of these little corner pieces in. This enables me to have an extra 2 sidings because the curve can cut around the corner. So I hope you find that useful, how I lay my track, the flexi track. So if you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. So please don't forget to like, subscribe and share. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.